And how about our junior high and senior high youth who dressed up? You didn't see them today. They dressed up like Bible characters. And of course we had Sandy. All kinds of characters to go with our theme. You know, I will always smile when I remember seeing our senior high boys come in their Bible tunics, and when they needed to use their imagination to find a hat, they had on purple plastic bowls on top of their heads. It's fantastic. It's wow. And then, of course, there are the children. When asked when one of their favorite things about Vacation Bible School was this week, one of our youngest children said, "Getting to come to church every day." Doesn't get any better than that. Wow. Wow. God works wonders. So I would like to invite you to take just a moment now and think about what fills you with a sense of wonder. What makes you say, wow? Perhaps you think of a sunset, or an unexpected rainbow, or a majestic mountain. Or maybe you see God at work in a relationship that brings wonder and thankfulness to your heart. Or perhaps you see the wondrous works of God in the faces of children and youth. Or maybe you join with me in celebrating the Spirit of God active in our church. The wonder moments in our lives are those times when the only thing that we can say is wow. Wow. And when we say it, we are praying a prayer of gratitude to God. You know, there are all kinds of brave and creative people in the Bible who had joyous experiences in their lives and tough experiences in their lives. And they are people who might help us think about this sense of wow. Remember Esther? She was one who used her imagination to overcome a challenge. She used her creative thinking and her courage, and with that, she figured out a way to save all of her people. You might call her an ordinary woman, but with God, she was able to do extraordinary things. Or how about all those people who had the job of rebuilding the temple after it had been destroyed? Here's a name that most of you don't have on the top of your tongues that our children learned this week. Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel and all of his workers faced that tough situation of rebuilding the temple when it was needed. And it took lots and lots of time and energy, but they learned that with collaboration and working together with creativity, that they could meet that challenge and build with God. Together they could accomplish things that not any one of them could do alone. Perhaps you have faced a situation where rebuilding was needed. Rebuilding can be very hard work. It can be tough. When we do have that task of rebuilding, whether we are rebuilding structures or relationships or trust, our God who works wonders works with us in every single step of the way. Think about all those actions and stories of Jesus where we see how the ordinary becomes extraordinary with God. How God works wonders. Jesus told all kinds of stories to help us understand how to love and how to live in that love. Jesus helps us to nurture and grow our faith, like that little bitty mustard seed that grows up to be a huge, huge plant. Or that tiny grain of yeast that put together with all the right ingredients makes a huge loaf of bread. So do we as we grow in our faith and our trust when God is right along with us. That God takes our ordinary selves and turns us into extraordinary beings. Remember when Jesus fed 5,000 people? He used a boy's lunch of 2 loaves of bread and 5 fish. And not only was everyone fed, there were 12 baskets of leftovers. Jesus teaches us that God will provide. And with God, we can all do something incredible. When we work with God, giving what we have leads to overflowing abundance. God's grace surrounded a couple of people when they were taking a walk on the road. It was a walk to a town that we call Emmaus. They were on this walk, and suddenly someone met them that they didn't know. Now, this was after Jesus had risen from the dead. And there was Jesus, although they didn't know it. He surprised them. He answered their questions and he talked with them. And they were so glad that they wanted to share the good news with everyone else. So working with God, when people use their imagination and all the supplies that they have, it was easier to overcome the challenges that they faced. All these people that we've talked about were not superheroes. They were people, just like us. Ordinary people that God takes and makes extraordinary. You know, we all have different experiences as we walk with God. And sometimes there is a surprise. Sometimes we are filled with that awe and wonder. And we remember in those moments that God's message is for everyone, for all people. And we are the ones who have that privilege to share it. Well, every day at Vacation Bible School, our visioneers, that's what we call the children, learned some wonder words to help us to remember to participate in the creative life and work of God. And so I thought it would be only fitting for you to learn those wonder words today, to take with you, to remember those wow moments in your life when the extraordinary happens out of the very, very ordinary. So children, you're going to help lead the congregation in their response. Do you remember what the response is? Sandy Paper does. What child can tell me what the response is? Go ahead, Xander. Gear up, gear up. So here's our wonder words, and every time you hear them, your response is gear up. Imagine with God. Gear up. Build with God. Gear up. Grow with God. Gear up. Work with God. Gear up. Walk with God. Gear up. So let's do it. Let's gear up and imagine and work and grow and build and walk with God to make an extraordinary difference in the world in which we live. God works wonders. Wow. Amen.